Welcome to Down Not Done, a podcast mini-series, of course, part of the Ball Don't Lie Australia network. This is actually the 200th episode that Ball Don't Lie Australia has put together. Big milestone, obviously, but not as big or as important as this current podcast series that we're putting together. So this podcast series, Down Not Done, too often players get injured, and the majority of the time, all anyone really kind of thinks is, when's the recovery date? Isn't that such bad luck? Almost Godspeed sort of thing. Not a lot of thought is actually given to the journey that player is then on. And that's exactly what this podcast is about. I am joined by an amazing player, coach, creator, one heck of a defensive player, and huge signing for the Sunshine Coast Phoenix as part of the NBL 1 women's squad here in the NBL 1 North. And, of course, creator, as I mentioned, of B Hoops. But Erin Bowman does an amazing job here of jumping in and really giving depth to this series, allowing us to really go that deeper, gain her insight and knowledge about being a professional athlete at this level and dealing with sometimes serious major injuries. And because she's been through it before, she really opens up about her own struggles during this series and, of course, allows other players to do so as well. Through her experience, she's able to ask those really much deeper questions than I ever could. So huge thank you to Erin for coming on board. But episode 1 is here, and it's with the Sam McDaniel, Brisbane Capitals major signing for last season, who took them almost all the way to a chip. And, of course, will be back this year with the Brisbane Bullets. Big part of their, I don't want to say rebuild, but just reimagining. Let's go with their current squad and new coach and everything that's going on there. But, of course, he's had his shoulder struggles. Well, the end of the season that's just ended for their NBL 1 North and, of course, the start of the NBL season. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Myself and Erin sat down in this very studio. We got Sam on the blower. We got him on and we talked through first his basketball journey, then his injury and his road to recovery, and some of the insights that he wanted to share along the way. So no further ado, the Sam McDaniel, of course, episode 1 of Down Not Done. He's the MVP of the NBL 1 North and the Defensive Player of the Year for men. Anyway, we've got Erin over here. It's the meeting of the minds defensively. But, and of course, Brisbane Bullet himself, Sam McDaniel. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our absolute pleasure. Now, of course, let's start this journey where your basketball journey began. And yours wasn't like Erin's, was it? Where there was this niggling idea that annoying little soccer ball was the way to go.
Is that really how you started, Erin, with soccer?
No. Well,
it was mixed in there.
Softball and volleyball, but soccer, I got hit in the head with a soccer ball and I was like, never
really?
again.
Saw the
Yeah, right. Well, that's actually crazy because it did start with soccer for me. I didn't get hit in the head, I guess, to kind of change me over to basketball. But yeah, I mean, I played soccer, was very passionate about soccer up until, about 14. And then, just kind of, I guess, grew out of it. Didn't really, kind of click with my coaches and teammate at that time. And just thought I'd give basketball a try. And this was all in Adelaide, so I should have said that at the start. Grew up in Adelaide and started my basketball journey in Adelaide. But yeah, that's kind of where it began at 14 years of age.
The city of churches. What a delightful place. Well, coming from Adelaide, obviously, went off to uni, the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Do I have that right?
Yep.
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 Yep. Which was more of a culture shock coming from Adelaide? Heading over to Louisiana or heading to Tasmania for the Jack Jumpers?
Well, first of all, I should say Louisiana was my Division One school, like my 4 year school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Southeastern Community College, which was in Iowa, for 2 years before that, which was a junior college, and that was definitely the biggest culture shock. I think Australians are maybe a little bit isolated. Obviously we got big American influences, but as a kid, thinking about what college in America is going to be like, um, it was a bit of a shock when I got to Iowa and it was cornfields and snow and very,
It's a
very
shock
small
to
town.
Americans as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's nothing
absolutely.
there.
But yeah, it was just a huge culture shock being 18 years old and finding myself in the middle of Iowa.
As a player, when you're obviously you started playing at 14, was it when you got into the game? Was it just a slow progression of I'm actually pretty good at this, or was there someone who really pumped up those tires and got you going?
Yeah, I think it's definitely started as a slow progression. I was always, dare I say, a bit taller, a bit more athletic than most of my school friends, and yeah, so I just started and enjoyed being good at it. I just naturally, but then I guess a mentor for me and my first ever basketball coach, Rashad Tucker, who's still in Adelaide coaching kids. He took me under his wing and just made sure I was in the gym every single day and kind of taught me about hard work and about I guess grinding, you can say, and just putting in the work to rapidly improve. And I think that's kind of what I did. Really, like I said, I only started taking it serious at 14, but yeah, in the 4 years that I was taking it serious until I went to college, I think I was improving pretty quickly.
Pretty impressive regular season that you and the Capitals were able to put together. It was a bit of a slow start though. Things really turned around after that Rockhampton game. That one
Mm.
was special, and that tipped the iceberg. There was a couple of L's still to come, but then there was a real wave, and of course she went on to be MVP, as we already talked about. What are some of the highlights, the standouts for you with that squad this year?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I guess just touching on that first part, starting, I guess nothing really kind of changed for us necessarily. I think we kind of knew that we had a tough schedule to start. Obviously, with the whole Orchid Flower situation, being on the road a lot to start the season, we were not banking on the fact that we had a lot of home games to close out the season. But it is always tough, obviously, to be on the road,
Mm.
and we trusted that we were doing the right things in practice and putting in the work and communicating and trying to solve problems the right way. Credit to Vandy for that as well. He never kind of faltered when we were on 4 and always kept positive energy within the group, um, which was a big part of us being able to turn it around. But I guess favorite memories were probably the first finals game in at home against Rockhampton. I don't know, was that an elimination final, I think. And
Yep,
yeah,
that was
just
the first Capitals home final in the NBL one era, and
yeah, right.
that was
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. There you
it was a big deal.
yeah.
I was very very happy to be
You were very
commentating that one.
excited.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was a great experience, and yeah, just with a sense of togetherness, really. Like we were completely locked in on the task, and I don't think many people probably would have picked us to win that game, let alone the next game in Darwin, which was also another great experience of the season. Going on the road is always fun, but it's obviously always fun when you win. And I think, yeah, once again, most people probably would have picked Darwin to win that game, but just yeah, the collectiveness we had, the togetherness we had. It's always fun being part of a team like that.
Yeah, most, not all, not all.
Yeah,
Some
oh
of
yeah.
us had you.
There's some
Don't
believers,
stress.
yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on, Erin. You know what it's like. It's a tricky place to win, Darwin.
Yeah. Well, we won a lot when I was on the team. I was on the team.
It is. All right. Now let's start to head towards that injury territory, because that's kind of what we're here to talk about. Obviously beat Darwin. Head off to Mackay. Grand final series starts. First game is a monster sellout. They bring in more stands somehow, squeeze extra people in. Place becomes a little bit of a fortress, and you guys go down in game one. And game two, Mackay take every quarter. Late in the game, you're subbed out. What happened? When did the injury when and how did the injury take place, and when did you know it wasn't okay?
Yeah, it was like you said, in the fourth quarter. I believe there was 3 minutes left in the game. Still fighting hard. I think we were probably down 16 or 18 at that point. But yeah, come off my man to I knew, Isaac White had been killing us in the mid range the whole game, and I know his moves. He, went to spin off somebody and then shoot his mid range, and stuck my hand in the cookie jar, which was cool. I got the ball, poked the ball away, but then as we both kind of went to go get the ball, I guess we were kind of tussling a little bit, and he pulled my arm back like this, and yeah, just dislocated my right shoulder. And yeah, I instantly knew, I've subluxed that shoulder before, which basically means it's popped in and out quickly before in years in the past. But this time, it popped out and stayed out, and I knew straight away that it was out. Obviously, not a great feeling. Was in a fair bit of pain, and yeah, just went straight to the sideline, straight to the locker room, and they took me to Mackay Hospital. Yeah.
They say that once you sublux it once, it like continues to happen over and over, like a rolled ankle. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess that was prone to happen eventually later.
Yeah,
That sucks.
exactly, and yeah, it's just one of those things where, like you say, it was bound to happen at some point, and yeah, just I think with the way that I play as well, super physical, and use my forearms a lot to fend off and to play defense and that type of thing. I've got a bit of a bad habit of having my arm in that vulnerable position across my body. But yeah, in the moment, like you were doing, Aaron, like the game is just so fast. Sometimes you just can't get out of those positions quick
it's
enough.
grand final, doing everything you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
Even if you have to
No,
tackle
exactly.
Isaac, like just go ahead.
Yeah, it's not as if you've got to play with him in the off season of this NBL one stuff. So,
Yeah.
all right. Now, when did the emotions sort of kick in for you, and how did they manifest? Was it tears, disappointment, anger, frustration, or something else entirely?
Yeah, it was shock, to be honest. I was in big time shock. Like I said, it had happened before. Had never It had never come out for long enough for me to really kind of look at my shoulder and be like, oh, that's not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to look like that, and I'm not supposed to be in this much pain. But yeah, this time I went back to the locker room, was just sitting there for 10 minutes, like kind of like, what are we going to do? Um, and then, yeah, I think as I got to the hospital, the shock really kind of set in, and yeah, had a few moments of tearing up, definitely. I was also, it was dislocated for 2 hours, and there was a lot of factors as well, like not not trying to shit on Mackay Hospital, but it was, you know, kind of middle of the night as well. Weren't a lot of people working, wasn't, maybe getting the attention that I probably needed at that time, and wasn't able to get any pain meds, wasn't able to get an X-ray straight away. And yeah, it was a bit of a tough one, just to sit there for 2 hours with a dislocated shoulder, and I'm dehydrated and I'm hungry. Just played, 2 games in 2 days. There's a lot of different stuff going through my mind, and also wondering, like, what's going to be the outcome with this. Definitely once I got to hospital, was when the shock, I guess, sunk in.
Having been through something like that before, you said you'd popped it out before.
Mm.
Do you think that made it better or worse, knowing that this has happened before? Did that play on your mind a little bit in that mental space? Or
They'd never come out fully before and just stayed out, so that part was a bit of a new experience for me. Yeah, I was familiar with the initial feeling of of having it dislocated. And yeah, like I said, it's probably happened 5 or 6 times over the course of my 6, 7 year career. So that part is familiar. But yeah, having it stay out, it was a bit unknown, and I guess that was kind of most of the shock. For me, was the fact that I had no idea what the recovery time would be, or how serious it was. Would I need surgery? All these things were questions that I was kind of wanting the answers to immediately, and I obviously wasn't able to get them straight away.
All right. A little bit of a fast forward now to the Blitz, and this report coming out that you might be playing at the end, towards the end, not sure, and then Bullets come out and say it's not going to happen this time round. Obviously, we had a conversation there, positive, and then after that, what then happens to then require that surgery in the end? How does that shake out?
Yeah, so I guess I should probably preface that by saying I did have an option when it came out in Mackay to have, maybe go ahead and have the surgery straight away, but
Mm-hmm.
met with the people I needed to meet with and decided that we're going to try and do it conservatively, going to try and give it a shot at least at, playing this NBL season and just rehab it and just strengthen it up and just do the right thing in terms of recovery and all those things. So that was the route we went. And it was 6 to 8 weeks of, strengthening, that back of shoulder up and getting the stability back and the range of motion back and all those things. And credit to the Bullets staff. I think we did a really good job of that, and I was super confident going into round one, which was obviously the only game that I played in the season. And yeah, it was feeling good. I was feeling really good out there. I'd obviously been, doing all the right things because I felt like nothing had really changed. It felt natural to be back out there, and my cardio felt good, and my legs felt good, and all that type of thing. And got through that game. I think I played like 15 minutes or something. Felt good. Was super positive to carry that into the rest of the season. And then that was a Friday night game in Perth. We go back home. Everything's all good. And then the Monday we have practice. And yeah, I think it was probably second or third drill. Um, yeah, same guy, Isaac White.
What's he doing?
I don't know what this guy's
Now's
got
probably
against
not
me.
good time to say this, but friend of the show, Isaac White.
Yeah, no, and I love Whitey, to death. He's a great dude, and but yeah, it just was crazy crazy coincidence how it was him in the second situation as well. And yeah, just same thing, got my arm caught in that same vulnerable position and popped straight out again. And this time it was out for about 5 seconds, I want to say. So it was out. I felt it out. I went and sat down on a chair and just kind of pushed it back and felt it click and go back in. I'm like, all right, I'm good. Instant relief from the pain and all that. But, I pretty much knew straight away that I was going to need surgery. It was going to be a big one because there's only so many times your ligaments and the whatever's in there that makes up your shoulder. So many
Leave it to
times
the
that it could be.
professionals.
Yeah, I
The
know. I was
jargon.
going to try and start naming all the stuff in there, but I would mess it up. But only so many times you can stretch them that much and do all that stuff before you just need to get it surgically repaired. So yeah, it was a tough one. Definitely a tough one in the moment.
So this is why I think we came together and started doing kind of this series, is to start talking about the mental side of all this injury and what it kind of looks like. Because until you go through it, I don't think anybody understands how difficult it can be. And
Absolutely.
I'm guessing, since it's been 4 months, that means you've been going, on and off 4 months with the mental side of this injury for you. And I guess my first question is, what has been the hardest thing you think in your head with dealing with this so far?
Yeah, I think for me, the hardest thing was, well, first of all, I've never had a major surgery like that. And I've never, faced, the prospect of being out for half a year, missing a whole year. Missing that, extended period of time, definitely was the hardest thing because, yeah, I've had 2 week injuries, 4 week injuries, 6 week injuries, broke my ribs, 8 week injury. All right, all good. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but this one was kind of like, oh, I'm about to be sitting down for a long time,
Mhm.
and I'm not used to that. I'm very physical person. Got a lot of energy, and you would know it, basketball is a big outlet for me, and
Yeah.
so I think that's probably one of the toughest. It was one of the toughest parts, for me, is just that realization that, well, I can't even see the finish line. I haven't even had the surgery yet, or started the rehab yet, or
Yeah.
everyone's telling me that, oh, you'll be all right, but it's a super tedious rehab, and I'm like, oh, well, sounds good. Good thing there's only 6 months of that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I do think, yeah, that was probably the toughest thing for me to
Yeah.
to come to terms with.
Yeah, and you see a lot like what you're saying, somebody trying to say, "Oh, it's going to be okay," all that stuff.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
you have a lot of outside kind of sources try to come in and kind of tell you how you should be thinking or everything's all right. I think sometimes when I'm going through an injury or I've multiple people that have, they almost
Mm,
feel forgotten about because at the end of the day, the people around you, the teammates, all that, the coaches, they have to move on. They have to,
mm,
deal with
exactly.
what they're dealing with. What
Hmm.
do you think has been mentally like? How have you dealt with that side of it, where you kind of like don't know what connection feels like right now with your team? Like it's not the same thing. You're not on the court with them. How is that going with this injury?
Mm. Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I was fortunate enough to be named a leader this year with the Bullets, part of the leadership group, which was a great honor. And um, I kind of coach, Shula, meeting about, having the surgery and what the future looks like and what the season looks like for me. He just kind of, obviously supported me and made sure that I was okay first, but then um, let me know that I can still impact winning, and I can still also, look at the game from maybe a different perspective and kind of put my coach's hand on a little bit, which is, I guess, kind of what I've tried to do. And, I'm still around the boys most days, and obviously it sucks not being able to be on the road and be on the floor with them, but still trying to, yeah, be around as much as I usually would be. So, yeah, just continue to maintain those connections. And, at the same time, I think, there's a silver lining for me because I've been able to have a look at some of my other interests and spend some more time with my family. And yeah, like just find other stuff that I like doing that maybe I didn't have to in the past. Um, I've been doing a lot of writing, a lot of reading, two things that I really love. But usually, if I've got practice every single day and then I'm tired and have to do this and have to do
Yeah.
that, I just don't have the time. But now I've got, some of my weekends back and just a little bit more time. So trying to look at things in a positive way that, yeah, it sucks to not be around the boys as much, but I can pour into other things in my life that matter to me.
Malachi must be loving the extra time.
He is. He absolutely is. At the start, I had to remind him though every day, Daddy's got an ouchie shoulder. Like you can't be wrestling, every single day. But yeah, he's been loving it for sure.
Yeah, you're just gonna pick the other arm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
awesome. And even speaking of that, with people that have like family members, friends who are going through injury, what do you think is like some great advice for them to help someone that's around them that is going through something like that? What has worked for you with your connections?
Yeah, I think just checking in really, and like I guess yeah, to be a little bit vulnerable. Like I did have a moment the second time as well because, like I said, I knew that I was probably going to have surgery, and I knew that it was going to be a long-term surgery. And yeah, I kind of did it at the start of practice. So, and it went back in, like I said. So I was okay. I could move, and it wasn't hurting or anything. I didn't need immediate attention, but still was in the back of my mind, like starting to get emotional. I've just had this experience. I've just rehabbed for 6 weeks, and now it's looking like my season's gone. And I got emotional, and I had to, everyone was getting a drink, and I had to excuse myself because I just started tearing up, and it all kind of just hit me at once. Like I said, I've never dealt with that type of thing before, and big props to our captain, Mitch Norton, who must have noticed that I just left, and he followed me and kind of just was there for me. He put his hand on my shoulder and was like, "We love you, and you'll get through this." It wasn't like a dismissive thing, but it was nice to just have someone in that moment to just support me like he did, and I've told him since then, like, I really appreciate that. And aside from him, obviously my family, my partner, my son, and my mum, and my friend, my close friends, I've just continued to check in and just check in with my mental. The main things is, I think all of them know that I'm very much a physical person, and basketball, like I said before, is a huge outlet for me. So yeah, to friends and family, I would just say, yeah, continue to check in with someone who might be going through something like a long-term injury.
Yeah, and we talk about all the time, like the depressive states you kind of get when injuries happen, and how we always tell people, well, if you're feeling sad, reach out. But sometimes the last thing you want to do is reach out and talk to somebody. So it's important that the intention almost be on the outside sources in those moments when you're feeling kind of low and something's happened to someone close to you.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I would add, and it doesn't really answer the question that you just asked, but I think it is also relevant.
Do it.
I think myself, I'm a very motivated person. I'm very kind of forward thinking and logical, and just let's get the job done. How do we fix this type of thing? But I think one thing I really noticed when I did it the second time, and I knew that I was going to miss the season, was to really allow myself some time to grieve, this huge part of my life that I was losing, and to be sad and to be emotional. And it's okay to be those things, because I lost a big part of my life for a long period of time. And it's to just feel those feelings, I think, helped me once I did have the surgery, and once I did start rehabbing, be like, all right, now I can be super positive in a genuine way, rather than the old me probably would have just uh shoved it down, from the start, and being like, all right, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And just not allow myself to actually be sad about getting injured. I think that's probably a huge part as well that's helped me.
Well, it gives you time to process, I think. It gives you time to understand what's happened. Because if you're on to the next thing, get knocked down, get right back up, you kind of don't have time to realize, okay, how can I do this differently? Is there some things I need to change? So that's awesome. I think the step-by-step process is kind of my biggest thing I wanted to ask you is, like, if you are talking to a young kid, because even the other day I was talking to a 17-year-old that was going through an injury, a 2-year injury. So since she was 15, she's been going through this injury for 2 years. And she talked about how, she learned so much from it, learned that how lucky she is to play, learned a lot from it. But during those 2 years, it was one of the hardest, and didn't know how to tell people what she was going through, and didn't know what to do, because there isn't much about this out there about how to deal with injury. So not that there is like this step-by-step process, but what do you think are some key things that if you were going to pass information on to younger kids or a younger generation of how to deal with injury, what would those things kind of be?
Yeah, another great question. I think, yeah, kind of, I guess for me, starting with exactly what I just said, just kind of giving yourself that time and that space to be upset, and, really feel those emotions, because the last thing you want to do is, bottle them down, I think. So that's a huge first step, I think. And then, for me, I think having a bit of a goal in mind, once I did have the surgery, and once I could kind of start doing things and feel like I was, being productive towards getting better. I think having a goal in mind for what the future looks like in terms of the injury, in terms of your sport, or whatever it is that the injury is stopping you from doing. I think it's been a huge thing for me, and it's now obviously a driving force to be able to show up and do the same exercises day in and day out. And so I think, setting a goal is a huge one. I'm very much motivated, already. So I think that is, just gives me something to aim towards, which I know helps my mind as well. And then, I think exploring other things is other hobbies is a huge thing as well for me. Like I said before, the time and I guess maybe the mental capacity to, take on other things and do other things that I like doing and really put some time into that is another great step. And then, yeah, to kind of speak to what you said before, I also think that um, just allowing yourself to have perspective on the whole situation. Like since I got injured, it's kind of like I just feel so grateful and blessed to be able to play basketball for a living, uh,
Yeah,
in general. And I felt like that before. I really feel like that now, and it's something that helps me get through because I'm just happy to be here. And it's obviously been taken away from me, but I'm pretty lucky to have it in the first place.
absolutely. Great
Indeed.
answer.
Indeed. All right. Now, has this allowed you to get into that little bit more of a coaching space, and do you think that will help you with your X's and O's stuff when you do come back bigger, better, and stronger?
Yeah, I think so. Um, yeah, it's definitely challenged me a little bit. It's just a different kind of way of looking at things. I think a different set of communication skills as well. Trying to, I guess, point things out about other people rather than just be like, all right, what do I need to improve? What do I need to improve on the court? I think is a different thing for me as well. But yeah, I'm trying to just, help in any way I can. And I think that's part of it is just giving my insights on, not only the team, but, helping individual guys, whether it be, on, well, it's mainly on defensive stuff as well. I think something that a few of the guys are trying to lean into a little bit more. And I think that I can really help in that space. So yeah, I think being injured is definitely giving me the space to kind of be that support for the other guys a little bit.
And with the timeline of this injury, are we likely to see you back in that NBL one space, dominating towards that possible MVP up here in the north, or maybe taking your skills potentially elsewhere in the many conferences? Is that going to line up, or is it maybe not so much?
I think it will, to be honest, and that's what I want to do. It's obviously, like I keep saying, it's a long time to be out, and I've never been out this amount of time. Yeah, I just think that by the time the NBL one season rolls around, I'll be pretty keen to get on court, and if not anything, just get those game reps back and the rhythm and all those type of things that you obviously miss out on. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to look like. I don't want to promise anything, but I'm very excited. I hope to play NBL one in the north for sure
Yeah, I
next
think
season.
as soon as you get back, the first thing you want to do is start playing, no matter what it looks like. It's like, I need to play.
Yeah, and two-time
exactly.
MVP Sam McDaniel sort of has a real ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. It sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Mate, while we've got you here, obviously, like we talked about, Defensive Player of the Year, do you have any just advice or insight for juniors or players coming up?
Yeah, I think that first of all, I think it's just important to realize how important defense is in general, because it's like obviously it's not always the most glamorous thing, and everyone wants to score and be a scorer, but I do think every team needs a defensive stopper or two, like it's such a valuable part of a team nowadays. And I think, I don't know exactly what the stats are, but especially in the NBL, the top defensive teams are the ones that make it the furthest in the season. And so, yeah, value the defense, and value your own individual defense, and take it personally. If someone scored on you the last couple of times, you don't let him score on you, again, and you take that matchup personally. And yeah, don't be afraid to get physical, I would say as well, without fouling. Adjust to the refs, but
unless it's
be
sticking
physical.
your hand and your eyes are closed.
Yeah. I need to take my own advice.
But also, don't just give him an open ticket to the basket. I mean, there's got to be some sort of happy medium.
Exactly. You got 5 fouls for a reason.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing and coming on. Really appreciated it. Hopefully the recovery continues. And again, thanks for sharing your story. The whole idea of this podcast is to share these injury tales.
No, absolutely. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. And yeah, thanks for having me.